Hiya! Thank you for joining today. Today I wanted to do my review of a film which came out recently, which is called TombRaider. Now, I'm obviously quite familiar, as most people will be, with the original Tomb Raider films and with the game series. I'm quite a big gamer. I have a PS4. I play games quite a bit. So for me, video game movies are something that I guess, kind of drawn to. I really like the cinematic qualities of the video games, and I like those games with the sort of longer, elaborate cutscenes which weave a story into the game itself. And for that, the recent Tomb Raider rebooted game series has been really, really fantastic. It's a series that needed some revitalizing, and it's got some. And it was going to be interesting to see how they would do let's say, a good job of making that translation onto the cinema screen. Now, this film is directed by Roar Uthag, if I've got that right, and is starring Alicia Vikander. Alicia plays Lara Croft, who is your Tomb Raider character in the sort of spirit of the rebooted games. It's taking us back to the start of her adventures, to basically the formation of her as the Tomb Raider. Whereas the Angelina Jolie movies, they sort of dove straight into things. She was the fully sort of formed, fully fledged Tomb Raider, and she had the whole mansion, everything to herself. This film takes a very different tack, and it starts her off in sort of year zero. And I thought that was a nice way to sort of pay homage to what was a very successful reboot of the game series. And it also helped to address a number of, let's say, issues you might have had with direct comparisons with the original series. This is absolutely not a film that is sort of directly comparable to the original series. For me, the standout in the film was definitely the acting from Alicia Vikander. I think she brought a sort of realism to the role, a sense of, let's say, growth and of limitation as a young woman. The film did for me a good job of setting her up as someone who has skills. She has, for example, basic fitness. She has, she's a bicycle courier. She takes part in bicycling races. She's obviously quite coordinated. She does a little bit of kickboxing, and she has some skills in that area. We see a bit of a flashback to bow and arrow lessons. So essentially, she's not simply becoming a badass out of nowhere. She has some kind of grounded background that gives her some reasoning to go forward with this. And when the film starts, we're really sort of catching her at an interesting point in her life. She has the Croft family inheritance, but she's not taking it up. She's sort of eking an existence from day to day, kind of underplaying her knowledge, underplaying her skill sets, underplaying her intelligence, let's say, within her day-to-day life. Because she doesn't want to go to the lengths of declaring her father dead, who's been missing for 7 years. She does want to go to lengths of declaring him dead and therefore inherit the family estate and the family business. And I thought this was a nice touch. It's a believable reason for Lara to be more grounded in her in the early parts of the film, and to have, let's say, more of a rough and tumble upbringing. It's perhaps not quite so believable that someone who had a sheltered, rich upbringing would have this kind of physical aspect to her character. Now, I think where the film also does pretty well is in establishing this relationship with Lara's father. So, at the start of this film, she's very much not the Tomb Raider. We don't even understand that she has much of an interest in antiques or in antiquity or in archaeology or tombs or anything along those lines. And this is largely because, as we understand, her father kept some of that hidden from her. So it's not something she was really, it's more of his hobby, his secret hobby, and it's not something she was necessarily exposed to that much. She obviously played with puzzles and bits and pieces of her father, but it doesn't feel like the passion was necessarily passed on to her as she was growing up. And obviously a large part of her formative years, her childhood, her father wasn't there. And I think this was an interesting way for them to take the story. The story itself, I felt, was okay. It's not a great story. The film does have a tendency to drag slightly, and although it had some good action, I didn't feel that it really ticked along at the pace that perhaps it should have. It's certainly not a bad film by any means. As a video game franchise film, it's not a bad film at all, but it's not the breakout hit that we are still, I guess, looking for after films like Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, etc. It's not coming with this film. Having said that, the film's perfectly decent. It's a good watch if you're a fan of the games, if you're a fan of this character. I think there's plenty there to certainly recommend going to see it. I think if you are looking for this to be a big action blockbuster, something perhaps funny or entertaining that you go in to see without understanding the backstory or without being invested in the character already, perhaps it's not going to tick the boxes. For that reason, I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's a decent film. It's a good film. It's not a bad film by any means. It's just not a really, really good film. It's not a great film. I'd love to hear from you what you thought about the film. Any comments, any observations down below. Anyone who's a big sort of PS4 fan, I've never got into Xboxes, that kind of stuff, so I'm firmly in the Sony camp, as it were. But yeah, big fan of the PlayStation games. I'm currently playing Fallout 4 still, and Persona 5. So I've got that coming today. Just getting a rental copy of that one. Anyway, if anyone's got any comments, please let me know down below. Very interested to hear what people have to say about this one. As always, feel free to like, share and subscribe my videos. You can find me at www.juliettenoir.uk, or you can get me through email at julietteisnoir@gmail.com. Both of those links are in the description down below. Thanks for joining me again today. Take care of yourself, and as always, bye! Bye!